The story begins from a mysterious world settled thousands of kilometers above the sky, where reaching itself was like inviting death. Still, some soldiers risked their lives to get there, but the very next moment they faced that world. Seeing this terrifying sight, Jack became terribly scared. Meanwhile, a soldier hiding behind a tree turned back to look at the monster, but then the monster twitched its nose and recognized his scent. Out of fear, the soldier hid behind the tree again, but the soldier tried to save his life and run, but his short legs couldn't keep up with the monster's long legs. The monster quickly took steps and knocked him unconscious with a single blow. Seeing a human for the first time, it leaned over and looked closely at. Then he pulled out the sword stuck in his leg and took both soldiers away to eat. Jack, standing far away, was watching all this. At that moment, he realized how big a mistake he had made by coming here. Actually, some time ago, Jack had received a pastor's M. Both were too scared to move from there, and suddenly the ground cracked open and a huge vine tore through the house and rose towards the sky. Seeing this, the Princess Tiran tried to run, but then a table fell on her. Jack saved her. Seeing this, Jack immediately picked up an axe to cut the vines. But suddenly the whole house along with people started uprooting and moving towards the sky. At the last moment, Jack jumped and grabbed the edge, but the vines were so fast. Jack slipped on the magical vines and started descending towards the ground, but on the way, the vines slowed his speed a bit, and eventually he fell to the ground and lost consciousness. But the princess was not so lucky because the vine took her with it. As soon as the king learned the truth, he immediately sent a troop of soldiers with Jack to save the princess. Soon, everyone climbed up using the vine and reached beyond the clouds. Then, the captain led further. Out of compulsion, Jack took off his belt and prepared himself, but just as he was thinking of moving forward, a curly-haired man standing nearby kicked him hard and pushed him forward. Seeing such a height, Jack's condition worsened. There was a strong storm and flashing lightning all around when suddenly a sharp lightning struck a soldier, causing him to slip, and the other soldiers collided with him and started falling down, but at the last moment, one soldier firmly grabbed the rope. And he immediately took out a hidden knife with his foot. The soldiers hanging below begged him not to do it, but without showing mercy, he cut the rope, and the soldiers hanging fell from a height of 10,000 feet, somehow. Because there was a huge world above the clouds. Seeing this sight, everyone started moving in that direction. Then the captain saw fresh footprints on the ground, which made him guess that the princess had not come down. They found the footprints left by the princess there, and at the same time, Jack found the same book on the ground that he had given to the princess. Then their gaze fell on the broken branches from which they guessed that someone had. On the way, Jack and his companion reached near a river where they saw thick, fresh sheep. Being hungry for many days, they thought of catching a sheep, but as soon as they tried to catch a sheep, suddenly, Jack immediately took out his knife and started cutting the net with full strength. Meanwhile, the captain was also trying to cut the rope, but then his eyes caught something strange. All the nearby crows suddenly flew away in panic, and all the sheep also ran away together. And at that moment, a huge moss monster appeared before them and caught both soldiers, taking them away. Jack quietly followed the monster so that when the right moment came, he could save the princess along with his companions. Meanwhile, Riedrich and both. As soon as the bald man turned back and came near the cliff, Riedrich took advantage of the moment and pushed him directly into a deep pit. Seeing this, Riedrich's friend laughed loudly, then suddenly a huge hand grabbed him. At that very moment, another monster as big as a mountain appeared behind him. Riedrich fell to the ground out of fear and quickly started searching for something in his bag, but as the monster reached out to grab him at that exact moment. Meanwhile, Jack chased the monster to their hideout and was astonished to see the scene because all around were beautiful waterfalls and tall mountains that looked no less than heaven. There, two horned monsters were. Then the monster spat out his armor. But as the monster threatened the captain that he would also eat the princess, a voice came from nearby that attracted everyone's attention. Actually, that voice was none other than the traitor Riedrich. Seeing the crown on his head, all the other monsters immediately knelt down, and at that moment his real plan was revealed. He went straight to the two-headed monster. From that moment, Riedrich became the new king of the monster world. He declared an attack on humans to conquer the entire world. Hearing his words, the monster army became very happy, but the two-horned monster had a different plan. The monster pushed the captain aside. After preparation, only vegetables were left to add. As soon as he went to get the vegetables, Jack sneaked in. Seeing Jack, the princess became very happy but immediately signaled him. At the same time, the monster came back carrying spices. Seeing this, Jack quickly handed the knife to the captain and hid himself. Fortunately, the monster suspected nothing. It picked up some sharp sticks and put them near the captain's eyes. Now it was the captain's turn. The monster attacked mercilessly but slightly missed. Otherwise, the upcoming generation of the captain would have been wiped out. Seeing this, the captain fainted out of fear. Then the monster picked them all up and took them near. But then Jack quietly picked up a heavy knife placed nearby. The unsuspecting monster was about to attack the princess when Jack stabbed the knife straight into its spine. The monster screamed loudly in pain, but Jack held the knife firmly. Seeing this, both the princess and the captain were astonished. After that, the three of them immediately reached the magical vine, but a monster was already guarding it, sent by Riedrich. Then Jack got a strange idea. As soon as Jack put the axe inside, the captain immediately closed his helmet. Then both quickly ran away and hid behind a nearby rock and waited. After a short while, the monster started suffering from bee stings. It seemed he was about to fall, but suddenly he took off his helmet. Seeing this, the three were shocked for a moment, but then a bee flew straight at him and stung the monster hard. They couldn't believe that they had defeated such a big monster so easily. After this, the three immediately decided to leave, but suddenly the captain stopped. He said he had to stay to snatch the crown from Riedrich. Meanwhile, the monster collided with the vines and finally fell down. Hearing the loud noise, the king immediately came out of his tent and was frightened to see this dangerous monster. Suddenly, villagers also gathered there, and then the king reluctantly ordered the public. He immediately ordered the general to cut the vine. Soldiers hammered huge iron nails into the big vine, then attached strong hooks and started pulling it with the help of some bulls and horses. Slowly, the huge vine started uprooting. Suddenly, the thick vine in the middle also started breaking. Soldiers standing above fell down, causing chaos all around. Meanwhile, Jack and the princess were descending using the vine, but as soon as they looked down, they were terrified. Finally, when they fell down, a pile of grass slowed their speed and both safely reached the ground. At that moment, Riedrich gathered all the monsters and prepared to attack humans. Then the two-headed monster sensed a human presence. Out of fear, Riedrich called the monsters while the captain stood ready to fight him. Then the two-headed monster ordered the others to take him out. The monsters began breaking rocks, and below, the captain and Ray. Then he seized the opportunity and started continuous attacks. But the captain somehow blocked his strike, and a battle of strength began between them. Soon, the captain started weakening and Riedrich drowned him in the water. Then, suddenly, Riedrich's anger burst out due to the sudden attack. Using his weapon, he pushed the captain backward. The captain was forced to retreat and finally reached the edge. Then Riedrich kicked him hard, making him fall down. Riedrich screamed loudly in pain, and the captain took advantage of this moment and stabbed his sword into Riedrich's belly. Due to the sudden attack, Riedrich died on the spot. Upon his death, the magical power of the crown also ended. The captain. He wore the crown on his finger and declared himself the new king. As soon as he wore the crown, his strength returned. Seeing this, the other monsters also knelt down. Then the captain saw the only vine returning to the earth. When the two-headed monster saw that the path to the human world was cut off, he roared angrily. Then the smaller head pointed towards a bag lying on the ground which contained magical seeds. The two-headed monster. As soon as they touched the water, the seeds immediately sprouted, and in the next moment, 4 huge vines tore through the ground. Then the two-horned monster shouted loudly, and all the monsters climbed the vine, heading towards the human world. At that time, Jack was giving water to the horse when suddenly his gaze went towards the sky. He saw all the monsters rapidly moving downward. Without wasting a moment, he mounted the horse and set off to warn the king. Meanwhile, the king's heir. He shouted loudly that monsters were coming, but the king didn't understand anything yet. Suddenly, many monsters emerged from the forest behind, destroying everything wherever they went. No one could stop them. Soon the Roman 6. Even the horse riders could not escape their speed. At this moment, humans were completely helpless before them. Then a round-faced monster broke the nearby windmill's fan and threw it towards the princess. As soon as it fell to the ground, everything was dead. As soon as the king's army reached near the fort, he ordered to shoot arrows, and within moments, hundreds of burning arrows were released towards the enemies. As soon as these arrows hit the oil, fire burst everywhere, and meanwhile, the king's sea. Although behind him, the two-headed monster also climbed the door, the captain attacked him, and he fell directly into the burning flames. Soon the fire completely surrounded him, but surprisingly, his own people didn't come to save him. Instead, they just stood and watched him burn. Meanwhile, people were still talking when suddenly a big iron. Actually, this was the plan of the round-faced monster who called more monsters to break the fort's door. The inside atmosphere turned completely chaotic. The princess ran inside the fort with Jack while Ba. Then, on the captain's orders, soldiers fired several crossbows that hit the wooden door directly. As soon as the aim was perfect, soldiers immediately pulled back the crossbow carts. The fort's army divided into groups, and even the king helped them. Suddenly, many burning trees began falling on the soldiers, loosening their grip. It seemed the door would break soon. Then the princess reached inside the fort with Jack, but suddenly a heavy thud and Jay. Both stepped back and some stones flew upward. Suddenly, two huge hands appeared from below. These were the same two-horned monsters who survived the fire because being underwater had saved them from some of the fire's effects. In anger, the monster broke the glass placed nearby. Both people hiding under the blanket shivered in fear, but the monster saw them directly from above. Jack put all his strength to immediately grab the princess and run, but the monster continuously chaws. The smaller head mocked Jack, then Jack angrily struck and broke its helmet with an axe. The enraged monster opened its big mouth, then Jack took out the magical seed hidden in his locket and threw it straight into its mouth. Suddenly, the king's crown also fell near Jack. Meanwhile, the outer soldiers were still busy stopping the monsters. But at the command of the round-faced monster, all the monsters slowly moved back and started knocking down soldiers one by one. Seeing the tasty soldiers standing there, they became very happy. The monsters were about to attack when suddenly a voice came from behind, and all the monsters turned their attention to that voice. The monster looked carefully into the crowd and suddenly dropped his weapon. Seeing this, the remaining demons also dropped their weapons and knelt down before all the humans. The captain was shocked to see this scene. Just then, Jack came forward holding a crown and immediately told all the demons to return to their world.